Hi, everybody, and welcome to Mysteries of Sleep World. What if the moon were twice its size? Imagine yourself stepping outside on a cool, quiet night. The sky is a deep velvet scattered with stars, but what catches your eye is the moon. Tonight, it seems impossibly large, twice the size you're used to, hanging low and luminous like a softly glowing lantern. Its gentle light spills across the landscape, making shadows longer, edges softer, the usual nighttime sounds strangely muted under its silvery gaze. It's the kind of night where your thoughts drift lazily and your body feels pulled toward the calm that only moonlight can bring. But here's a cheeky little reality check. If the moon were actually twice as big, you probably wouldn't survive a week on Earth as you know it. That's because the moon's size isn't just about what you see, it's tied to gravity, tides, and a delicate cosmic dance that keeps the planet cozy and balanced. Still, you're here to drift through a gentle story of what might be, where science meets imagination, and where every fact has a whisper of mystery. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, feel free to post your location and local time in the comments below. I love knowing where night is falling for all of you. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The moon's presence in our sky is a steady, calming force, but it's often easy to forget that its size and distance are finely tuned. The moon orbits roughly 238,900 miles away, appearing about half a degree wide in the sky, a modest but bright beacon. If it were twice as big in apparent size, it would mean it's closer or physically larger, and that simple change would ripple through many layers of life on Earth. Historians and astronomers alike still argue whether ancient people fully understood the moon's true nature or saw it more as a mystical symbol, a glowing guardian of night. Yet even early humans couldn't help but notice how the moon's phases waxed and waned, influencing their nights and stories. Picture the quiet glow of the moon doubling in size, not blinding, but softly overwhelming. Nighttime wouldn't feel quite so dark anymore. The shadows cast wouldn't disappear but stretch differently, perhaps longer, thinner, more mysterious. Imagine walking through a forest under this expanded lunar light. The leaves would shimmer gently, and the usual nocturnal chorus might pause as creatures adjust to this brighter world. The moon's light, after all, is sunlight reflected about 1/3 of a million kilometers away, a silvery echo of our star. Double the size, and the surface area you see increases by 4 times, because area scales with the square of the radius. That means your eyes would be soaking in much more reflected light, a dreamy floodlight for the night. You might recall that this isn't quite like a full moon supermoon event, where the moon appears larger due to its elliptical orbit. This is bigger by a much wider margin, a cosmic exaggeration. Historians and astronomers still argue whether such a presence could ever have existed naturally or if it belongs purely to the realm of science fiction and myth. And speaking of myths, many cultures have long associated the moon with sleep, dreams, and gentle magic. Imagine how those stories might have grown under a moon that seemed to loom closer, perhaps casting an enchanting spell on all who looked up. But before your mind drifts too far, consider that such a large moon would also affect more than just light. Gravity would stretch and pull in ways that would ripple through our oceans, our atmosphere, and even the ground beneath your feet. So as you settle into this imagined night, feel the calm of that gentle, yet more intense glow. Let your thoughts wander beneath the vast lunar lantern, ready to explore the tides, the wildlife, and the ancient tales stirred by a moon twice its size. Now that you're comfortably wrapped in the idea of a moon twice as large, let's turn our gaze downward to the tides. You know how the ocean's surface is always shifting, rising and falling like a slow, eternal breath? That's the moon's doing, gently pulling at Earth's waters with its gravitational embrace. But with a moon twice as big, that pull would grow noticeably stronger, reshaping coastlines and the rhythm of seaside life in ways both subtle and striking. You might think, okay, stronger tides, big deal. But imagine this. The usual twice daily tides would swell to sizes far beyond your weekend beach visit. Tides might rise several feet higher than normal, flooding estuaries, reshaping beaches, and nudging coastal ecosystems into a new daily dance. The gentle lapping you're used to might transform into a slow but persistent swelling, like a breathing giant with a calm but insistent presence. Historians still argue whether early coastal communities might have noticed such variations and how they might have adapted. Maybe they built their homes on stilts earlier or planted crops further inland. Imagine ancient fishermen waking up not to a predictable tide, but to a tide that seemed to have moods, sometimes swelling in grand surges, sometimes retreating with a slow sigh. This idea reminds me of the fascinating but quirky fact that in some places, tides can be influenced by the moon and the sun working together or in opposition. When they line up during full and new moons, the tides are highest called spring tides, not because of the season, but because the forces combine. With a bigger moon, those spring tides might have felt like the sea was taking a deep breath and holding it a little longer than usual. Even animals that rely on the tides, crabs, shorebirds, and certain fish, would have their routines rewritten. Some species synchronize their breeding or feeding cycles to tides, and a stronger pull might mean longer stretches of submerged beach or marsh, changing their feeding grounds and nesting habits. Nocturnal creatures, too, might find the brighter, larger moon coupled with swelling tides an entirely new world to navigate. If you've ever spent a foggy evening by the shore, the quiet, rhythmic rise and fall of water is a lullaby of sorts. Soothing, steady, calming. Imagine how that rhythm would deepen with a larger moon's influence, extending the ebb and flow into a grander performance. But don't let the bigger tides fool you into thinking they'd be wildly destructive all the time. The oceans and their shores have been shaping each other for millennia, adapting in their slow, patient way. Still, coastal lands would probably look different. Beaches pushed back, marshes expanded, and maybe even new landforms appearing where the sea's breath had a stronger reach. Scientists and geologists also ponder whether a larger moon might have increased Earth's rotational slowdown. The tides actually pull at Earth's spin, gradually slowing it over billions of years. A bigger moon with its stronger grip could mean days lengthened even more slowly, or perhaps with more pronounced pauses in the ancient past. You might chuckle at the idea of Earth's spin being slowed down by the moon's hug, like a cosmic dance partner with a very firm grip. Historians and geophysicists still argue about exactly how these processes unfolded over deep time, but it's fascinating to imagine your day stretching out just a little longer under a larger lunar gaze. So next time you walk along a beach under a full moon, imagine that gentle rise and fall being turned up a notch. A quiet but mighty force that would change how you experience the boundary between land and sea, and maybe even your sense of time itself. With the tides gently pounding in your mind, let's drift backward in time to ancient night skies remade by a moon twice as large. Imagine standing on a hill thousands of years ago, eyes lifted toward a massive glowing orb that dominates the heavens, far larger and more commanding than the moon you know now. For early civilization, whose days were ruled by the sun and whose nights were stories written in stars, the moon's changed presence would have quietly reshaped myth, ritual, and even the very measurement of time. The ancients were keen observers. In Mesopotamia, Egypt, and Mesoamerica, lunar cycles governed calendars, festivals, and farming cycles. Historians still argue whether the shish or brightness of the moon played a role beyond its phases in their cosmologies. But it's clear that the moon was a celestial guidepost. If that moon had seemed twice as large, its influence might have felt more immediate, like a nightly companion that could not be ignored. Picture Babylonian astronomers carefully charting the sky with cuneiform tablets, watching a moon whose size swells unexpectedly. They might have adjusted their calendars, maybe adding new rituals when the moon appeared especially grand. Could this explain some of the more elaborate moon festivals or the intricate lunar mythologies wrapped around gods and goddesses with silver robes? Maybe. In Egypt, the moon was linked to Thoth, the god of wisdom and writing. Imagine priests in quiet temples, illuminated by the moon's larger light, inscribing sacred texts that praise the celestial rhythms. The moon's doubled glow might have made nights less dark, allowing more time for scholarly and religious activities, subtly changing the culture's pace. A quirky tidbit here. Some researchers suggest that prehistoric cave paintings align with lunar cycles, If the moon were bigger, those ancient artists might have been inspired to paint even more detailed lunar imagery, or their work might be easier to interpret today thanks to the striking moonlight that once bathed their nights. Think of the indigenous peoples of the Americas, whose stories often personify the moon as a powerful being, sometimes a protector, sometimes a trickster. Historians still argue about how much the physical appearance of the moon influenced these stories versus its cyclical nature. But a larger moon might have fueled legends of celestial giants or glowing spirits wandering the night. On the other hand, a moon that looms too large might have caused some fear. Nighttime might feel less like a mysterious retreat and more like an intense, watchful presence. This could have led to a more cautious relationship with the dark, shaping how societies evolved their nighttime customs. Even the concept of months based on the lunar cycle could have felt different. The changing size of the moon across the month would be more pronounced with a bigger moon, adding a visual drama to the slow waxing and waning, making time's passage a grand spectacle. So as you imagine ancient people gathering beneath that vast lunar lantern, know that their understanding of time, myth, and the cosmos might have danced to a rhythm both familiar and strangely new. Now as the moon's larger presence settles into your imagination, shift your attention to the quiet creatures of the night, the nocturnal wildlife that thrives in the shadows and soft moonlight. Animals have evolved alongside the moon's gentle cycles for millions of years, tuning their behavior to the patterns of light and dark. But what happens when that light is not just a pale glow, but a shining, twice as large beacon in the sky? Picture yourself standing near a forest edge on a full lunar night, only now the moon's glow is more intense and its size dominating the sky. The delicate moths flutter cautiously, their tiny wings glistening under the brighter light. Some species that rely on moonlight to navigate might find their paths clearer, while others, more sensitive to brightness, could seek deeper cover. Historians and ecologists still argue about how much moonlight shapes nocturnal animal behavior, but it's a fascinating puzzle to imagine. Take sea turtles, for instance. Hatchlings instinctively head toward the brightest horizon, often the moonlit ocean. A larger moon might make their journey more vivid, but perhaps confusing if the light seems overwhelming or distorted. It could change migration patterns subtly, nudging species into new habits or paths. Then there's the eerie but fascinating case of bioluminescent creatures, tiny plankton, and insects that glow by their own light. Some scientists speculate that increased moonlight might dampen their glow's effectiveness, changing how they attract mates or avoid predators. Imagine fireflies trying a little harder to outshine a moon that's suddenly a full-on street lamp in the sky. Among mammals, the larger moon's glow might embolden some, like foxes or owls, whose hunting success depends on sight, while making others more cautious. The night's quiet chorus, the hoot of an owl, the rustle of small rodents could shift in volume and timing, adapting to the changed light and the new dance between predator and prey. A quirky detail. In some species, lunar cycles influence reproduction. Coral spawning, for example, often synchronizes with the full moon. If the moon were larger, might spawning events become more frequent or intense? The science isn't settled, but it's a delightful thought to ponder. And think about those gentle night pollinators, the moths and bats that quietly flutter and buzz in darkness. Their activity could shift, affecting plants' nighttime fertilization and the balance of whole ecosystems. It's like a delicate domino chain set off by a single glowing domino twice the size. Imagine walking under this giant moon, noticing that even the insects seem to pause, adjusting to a light they never quite expected. You might find the night sounds softer or more muted as creatures take a breath and reconsider their usual routines. So the next time you catch a glimpse of a full moon, remember this gentle, silent world that moonlight guides, and how a bigger moon might nudge it all into new rhythms. As you continue wandering beneath this twice as large moon, it's time to turn inward to your own body and mind and consider how such a lunar presence might influence your sleep. You already know the moon has a subtle hold over tides and wildlife, but did you ever think it might tug on your dreams too? You trudge into your bedroom, the giant moonlight pouring through the window, softer and stronger all at once. The glow filters through your eyelids, casting gentle shadows across your sheets. Scientists have long observed that the lunar cycle seems to whisper to our sleep patterns. Some studies suggest people take longer to fall asleep during full moons, experience lighter rest, or dream more vividly. Historians and sleep researchers still argue whether these effects are universal or vary by culture and individual sensitivity, but it's a quiet area of ongoing fascination. Now, with the moon twice as large, imagine that influence intensifying your body's internal rhythms, subtly stirred by a stronger gravitational and light signal from above. It's almost like your mind is being nudged awake by the moon's larger presence, teasing you between the edges of consciousness and slumber. Ancient peoples may have felt this pull more keenly. Some Native American tribes, for example, name moons after the seasons or natural events, linking the moon to cycles of life and rest. If the moon loomed larger, those cultural connections between lunar phases and human behavior might have deepened, guiding nightly rituals or communal sleep patterns. A quirky thought, some fringe theories suggest the moon's pull could influence melatonin production, the hormone that regulates sleep, though conclusive evidence remains elusive. Still, it's soothing to imagine the moon softly coaxing your body clock, a celestial lullaby shaping your circadian rhythm. You might recall the Victorian era's insomnia remedies, where moonlight was sometimes used therapeutically to calm restless minds. The paradox of a bright moon that both stirs and soothes reflects the delicate balance our bodies strike under lunar influence. As you lie down, the moon's glow feels like a gentle hand resting on your forehead. You notice how the soft light changes the atmosphere, no longer pitch black, but filled with a silvery haze that blurs the edges of the night. Your thoughts meander between wakefulness and sleep, pulled by the moon's gentle tide. Historians still debate whether the moon's effects on sleep are biological or cultural, or some mysterious blend of both. But one thing's clear. Under a doubled lunar glow, the nighttime feels alive with possibility, dreams expanding in size along with the moon. So as you close your eyes tonight, let the thought of this larger moon cradle you, its quiet pull a reminder that even in darkness, you are part of a larger cosmic rhythm, a dance of light, shadow, and rest. The moon's grand presence doesn't just affect the seas, animals, or your sleep. It also plays a subtle role in how the atmosphere behaves at night. Imagine the air around you, normally a quiet, cool blanket, now tinged with the influence of a larger lunar partner. This section explores how doubling the moon's size might reshape nighttime weather, wind, and that peaceful stillness you crave as you drift off. You step outside again, feeling the gentle breeze brushing your skin, hearing leaves rustle faintly under the moon's brighter glow. Nighttime air tends to cool more quickly than daytime, but the moon affects more than just light. It pulls on Earth's atmosphere too. Scientists still argue about the extent of lunar influence on weather patterns, but it's clear that gravity's reach extends even to the air you breathe. With a moon twice as large, its gravitational tug on the atmosphere would strengthen. This could mean slight changes in wind patterns, pressure systems, and the behavior of clouds. Picture gentle nighttime breezes shifting direction more noticeably, or the rise and fall of fog becoming more rhythmic and pronounced. It's as if the atmosphere takes a deeper breath in time with the moon's pull. A quirky historical tidbit. Some ancient mariners believed moon phases foretold weather changes, using the moon as a celestial barometer. If the moon had appeared larger and more dominant, those weather predictions might have been more trusted or complex, blending observation with lore. Your skin might even feel the difference. The coolness of a night breeze could seem more pronounced under a bigger moon, or perhaps the air holds a touch more moisture, making the night feel softer and thicker. Imagine walking through a field where the fog curls and lingers longer, shaped subtly by lunar gravity. The moon's influence might also gently extend the length of nighttime temperature dips, making nights cooler for longer stretches. For you, this might mean snuggling deeper into blankets, or opening windows just enough to catch that perfect lunar-cooled air. Scientists still debate how strong these lunar effects really are compared to other factors like the sun's influence or local geography. But it's delightful to imagine the moon acting like a silent conductor, orchestrating a delicate symphony of air and light around you. So as you breathe in the night, feel the atmosphere's quiet dance with the moon's larger form above, a reminder that the world is connected in subtle, surprising ways, even in the stillness before sleep. With the atmosphere's gentle sway under the larger moon now settled in your mind, Let's drift to the world of plants and how their nighttime habits might shift under a doubled lunar glow. You probably think of plants as strictly daytime creatures, soaking up the sun's warmth, but many also respond to the moon's presence, especially at night. Imagine a garden bathed in twice the usual moonlight. How would the plants react? You wander through a moonlit garden where shadows stretch longer and the silvery light spills over petals and leaves with unusual brightness. Some plants track the moon's phases, opening or closing their flowers according to its cycle. With a larger moon, this lunar choreography might become more pronounced or even altered. Historians and botanists still argue how much lunar light versus gravitational pull governs these rhythms, but it's clear plants respond in quiet, fascinating ways. Take the evening primrose, which opens its blossoms after sunset to attract night pollinators, like moths. A brighter moon might change the timing or intensity of this blooming, encouraging more pollinator visits, or confusing the delicate timing that ensures successful fertilization. A quirky fact, in medieval Europe, farmers used moon gardening techniques, planting crops according to the moon's phases, believing it affected growth and harvest success. Imagine their fields glowing under a larger moon, with rituals gaining even more significance or complexity. Some plants might experience changes in water absorption at night, influenced by the moon's pull on moisture in the soil. This subtle shift could mean faster or slower growth, altering the pace of nature's quiet work while you sleep. Night-blooming cacti, delicate jasmine, and many other species might have evolved under such lunar conditions, their survival strategies woven tightly with the moon's glow and pull. Their fragrance, often stronger at night, might seem more potent, filling the air with scents heightened by the larger moonlight. Imagine the moon's twin-sized presence, encouraging nocturnal gardeners like moths, bats, and beetles to be more active or cautious, reshaping ecosystems and the interplay between plants and their nighttime visitors. Historians and scientists still debate whether plants use lunar cues more for light or gravity, and how these might interplay in a world with a larger moon. But it's a soothing thought to picture a night garden alive with soft movement and light, quietly dancing to the moon's expanded rhythm. So next time you glimpse a flower in the moonlight, remember the hidden conversation between Earth's green life and its glowing companion above, a dialogue that might be twice as luminous under a bigger moon. As the night garden fades softly from view, turn now to human creativity under a moon twice its usual size. You probably imagine artists, poets, and storytellers inspired by the moonlight's glow, but with a larger moon overhead, the creative spark might flicker differently, brighter, slower, or more mysterious. Imagine a campfire circle in a medieval village where the moon hangs low and large, casting long shadows and bathing faces in silvery light. Storytellers weave tales of celestial beings, lunar spirits, or great cosmic events influenced by the imposing orb overhead. The larger moon might deepen these myths or create new ones, shaping oral traditions and the stories we tell about ourselves. Historians still debate how much the moon's size affected cultural output, but some evidence suggests art and literature often reflect the natural world's wonders. In Japan's Heian period, for instance, poets celebrated the moon's changing beauty. With a bigger moon, these verses might carry an added weight, a slow, majestic presence felt in each line. A quirky detail, some ancient pottery and cave paintings appear to show exaggerated moons, possibly reflecting how people perceived its size or importance. Could these artistic choices hint at a past where the moon's impact felt larger than life? Even painters centuries later captured moonlight's magic. Think of the Impressionists, whose night scenes shimmer with gentle light. What if their inspirations came from a world with a brighter, larger moon? Colors might deepen, contrast sharpen, and the mood of nighttime art shift in subtle, soothing ways. The moon's larger presence might also affect music night songs, lullabies, or the gentle hum of nighttime instruments. Imagine a slow nocturne composed in a quiet town where the moon's glow plays like a gentle spotlight on rooftops and cobblestones. Historians still argue whether lunar phases influence the timing of festivals, artistic gatherings, or spiritual ceremonies. But a bigger moon likely extended these events, atmosphere-making nights feel longer, more enchanting. So as you imagine yourself beneath that oversized moon, feel the creative energy swirling softly around you, a timeless connection between human imagination and the glowing companion above. Now imagine yourself in a bustling ancient city where the giant moon looms overhead, casting its oversized shadow onto cobblestone streets and tiled roofs. The nightscape under such a moon would have shifted daily routines in ways both subtle and surprising. You might find yourself strolling later into the evening, guided by this stronger lunar light, or hearing the quiet buzz of night markets that linger just a little longer. In ancient Rome, the nocturnal hours were often seen as times for rest and reflection, but festivals and gatherings sometimes stretched into the night, especially under a full moon. Historians still debate how moonlight affected public life after dark, but a larger moon could have encouraged more nighttime activities, street vendors staying open, musicians playing, and neighbors chatting in softly lit squares. A quirky example comes from medieval Europe, where some towns regulated night noises according to moon phases. Perhaps a moon twice as large would have led to more nuanced quiet hours or moon-based curfews as people adapted to the moonlight's invitation to linger outdoors. In the markets of ancient China, lantern festivals combined with the full moon to create magical evenings. A bigger moon might have enhanced these gatherings, the glowing orb pairing with lantern light to create an otherworldly atmosphere that invited storytelling, dancing, and the savoring of sweet treats. Even the design of cities might have shifted. Narrow alleyways and open courtyards could have been arranged to maximize moonlight in the evening hours, creating natural gathering spots bathed in lunar glow. Historians still debate how much urban planning accounted for moonlight, but the idea of a city illuminated by a grander moon is a charming one to imagine. Imagine the quiet moments too, people washing clothes at night in rivers reflecting the giant moon, or lovers meeting under its enlarged gaze, sharing whispered secrets in the silvery haze. Life's everyday rhythms would adjust, syncing gently with the moon's doubled size. So the next time you think about a city at night, picture it under a sky dominated by a large, luminous moon, its glow quietly shaping the human stories unfolding beneath it. As you leave the bustling city behind, imagine traveling back to ancient maritime worlds, where sailors rely on the moon's light and gravitational pull to guide their voyages across vast oceans. A moon twice its usual size would have been a powerful force in navigation, tides, and even sea lore. You're aboard a wooden ship, the creaking of timbers harmonizing with the ocean's rhythmic surge beneath the colossal moon looming overhead. Ancient sailors often used the moon to gauge time and direction, and its gravitational pull influenced tidal movements critical to safe passage. Historians still argue about how much early mariners understood about these forces, but a larger moon would have made tides more dramatic and predictable, or perhaps more challenging. A quirky fact: Polynesian navigators used subtle celestial cues, including the moon's position, to find tiny islands scattered across the Pacific. With a moon twice as large, these cues might have been sharper, easier to read in the night sky, or maybe so bright they masked other stars crucial for navigation. Stronger tidal forces would mean higher highs and lower lows, altering coastal geography and changing where ships could safely dock or launch. Imagine ancient harbors adjusting their schedules around these extreme tides. Fishermen timing their catch with a lunar clock that ticks louder and more insistently. The moon's larger size might have also inspired more sea myths, giant lunar beings controlling the waves, or the moon as a guardian watching over voyagers. These stories might have been whispered on decks beneath the vast lunar light, comforting sailors during long, dark nights at sea. Imagine how the moon's exaggerated glow would affect night fishing nets cast under brighter skies. Fish behavior shifted by the strong lunar pull. Nighttime would feel alive with shimmer and movement, a dance between the sea and the moon. So as you gaze upward from the deck, know that the moon's size has shaped the rhythms of the ocean and those who brave its vastness, quietly guiding humanity's oldest journeys. Drifting now from the sea to the realm of ancient beliefs, you find yourself in a world where the moon's size is not just a physical fact but a spiritual presence, woven deeply into culture and ritual. Imagine ancient peoples gazing up at a twice as large moon, feeling its power not only in the tides but in their hearts and ceremonies. You sit by a crackling fire in a prehistoric village. Elders speak softly about the moon's grander form, telling stories of Gizan spirits who dwell there, shaping seasons, fate, and the very essence of life. Anthropologists still debate the extent to which lunar worship influenced early religious systems, but it's clear the moon held a profound place in human spirituality. A quirky detail: the Dogon people of Mali have long fascinated scholars with their intricate knowledge of the moon's phases and cycles, seemingly passed down through oral tradition. Imagine their ancestors under a larger moon, perhaps inspiring even more complex myths and rituals tied to its movement. In many cultures, the moon is linked with femininity, fertility, and renewal. A bigger moon might amplify these associations, marking rituals with a more commanding celestial presence. Picture ceremonies timed to the lunar cycle, where the moon's size signals moments of transformation, healing, or celebration. The moon's glow also shaped early calendars, guiding agricultural and social cycles. Historians still argue about the accuracy and origins of these lunar calendars, but a larger moon might have made tracking time easier, or perhaps more mystifying, as its phases grew more vivid and pronounced. Imagine drumming and chanting beneath the giant moon, the night air alive with a sense of connection between Earth and Squashamoy. The moon's doubled size feels like a bridge between the tangible and the divine, grounding everyday life in cosmic wonder. So as you relax into this thought, remember that the moon has always been more than rock and light. It's a symbol, a guide, and a storyteller, shaping human spirit as surely as tides. As the spiritual tales fade gently into the background, your mind drifts to the practical side of living with a moon twice its usual size, particularly how night travel and safety might have changed under such a luminous companion. You're walking along a forest path where shadows are longer and more detailed thanks to the moon's expanded glow, casting a surreal mix of comfort and mystery. In medieval Europe, night travel was often avoided for safety reasons. Bandits, wild animals, and poor visibility made darkness risky. But the moon's glow offered a natural lantern. With a larger moon, this ambient light would extend further into the night, potentially making late-night journeys less daunting. Historians still debate whether increased moonlight really encouraged more nighttime activity, but it's easy to imagine travelers taking advantage of those brighter nights. A quirky historical note: some Japanese Edo period towns had curfews but allowed exceptions on full moon nights, believing the light made streets safer. Imagine these curfews adapting under a moon twice as bright, with longer hours for merchants and wanderers alike. Moonlight also influences animal behavior. Predators and prey might adjust their patterns in response to stronger illumination, indirectly shaping human safety. Larger nocturnal animals may have become more cautious, while smaller creatures took advantage of the brighter nights. Your footsteps crunch softly on the leaf-strewn path as you consider the psychological effects of this brighter night, how the moon's glow might ease fears of darkness, making solitude more peaceful. Yet there's always a touch of mystery lurking in the shadows, enhanced rather than diminished by the larger moon. Imagine travelers in ancient Arabia or Africa navigating deserts or savannas beneath the doubled lunar light, relying on its glow and position as a guide across vast, open landscapes. Historians still debate how different societies balance fear and fascination with night and lunar light, but the idea of a larger moon softly illuminating safe passage is a comforting one to carry into sleep. So as you walk quietly beneath the big moon's gaze, feel its gentle reassurance, a beacon guiding you safely through night's embrace. Now let your thoughts wander to the world of nocturnal animals, those mysterious creatures whose lives revolve around the night. A moon twice its size would cast an even more powerful glow on their secretive activities, altering the rhythm of predator and prey, mating rituals, and migration patterns. You find yourself in a quiet forest clearing where owls call softly and the rustle of small mammals stirs the underbrush. Scientists still debate how lunar brightness affects animal behavior, but many species clearly respond to changes in moonlight intensity. With a doubled moon, the night would brighten significantly, making darkness less dark and shadows sharper. Nocturnal predators might find hunting easier under the larger moon, but prey animals could become more cautious or shift their active hours. For example, some bats reduce flight activity during full moons to avoid predators, a behavior known as the lunar phobia. Imagine how these patterns might intensify with a bigger moon looming overhead. A quirky fact: some sea turtles synchronize their hatchings with the lunar cycle, emerging at night when moonlight is low to avoid predators. With a brighter moon, hatchlings might face new challenges or adjust their timing in fascinating ways. In the vast African savanna, lions and hyenas rely on moonlight to hunt, while smaller creatures like rodents use the cover of darkness to forage. A larger moon might tip this balance, altering food chains and nighttime dynamics. Historians and naturalists still argue how much these changes would impact ecosystems long-term, but it's soothing to picture a night alive with shifting shadows and cautious movements, where every creature plays its part in a lunar-lit dance. So as you listen to the soft calls and whispers of the night, animals beneath that oversized moon, let yourself be carried by the gentle rhythms of life, moving quietly through the cool, glowing dark. From the nocturnal forest to the cozy hearth, imagine how a larger moon might influence human sleep itself, your own nightly journey into rest and dreams. The moon's light and gravitational pull subtly shape sleep patterns, and with the moon doubled in size, these effects could become more pronounced, for better or worse. You lie in bed, the soft glow filtering through your curtains, brighter than you're used to, but somehow calming, like a gentle nightlight. Historically, people have noticed their sleep shifting with the lunar cycle, some sleep lighter, or have more vivid dreams around the full moon. Scientists still debate whether this is due to light exposure, gravitational forces, or psychological expectation. But it's clear the moon whispers to our bodies. A quirky tidbit: in some cultures, midwives timed births around lunar phases, believing the moon influenced labor and delivery. With a larger moon, these beliefs might have deepened, entwining even more with early medicine and folklore. The gravitational tug from a bigger moon might subtly affect your body's fluids, influencing sleep stages or dream intensity. Imagine nights when you feel more restless or deeply immersed in vivid dreams, the moon's pull tugging at your subconscious. Light pollution is a modern problem, but under a giant moon, natural night brightness could make it harder for some to fall asleep without heavy curtains or eye masks, while others might find the lunar glow soothing, a natural companion through the dark hours. Sleep researchers still argue about the moon's true influence, but many people report feeling a connection, a mysterious bond between their sleep and the lunar dance. So as you drift closer to sleep, imagine your own body gently sinking with that huge moon overhead, its silent, steady presence cradling you through the night's quiet journey. As the night deepens and your mind begins to wander through dreams, consider the long-term effects on human culture and civilization if the moon were twice its size. The moon shapes calendars, tidals, myths, and daily life. But what if all of these influences were magnified? Imagine civilizations adapting, evolving, and dreaming beneath this giant lunar companion. You picture ancient scholars charting the moon's movements with meticulous care, their instruments and observations more detailed thanks to the moon's dominating presence. Calendars might have been more accurate or complex, and festivals more frequent or grandiose, timed to the moon's exaggerated phases. Historians still debate how lunar cycles shape timekeeping, but it's clear the moon has always been a celestial clock for humanity. A quirky idea: imagine architects designing temples and observatories specifically to frame the enormous moon during solstices or eclipses, its size inspiring awe and reverence on a grander scale than in our history. Daily life rhythms, from fishing schedules to planting crops, would adapt to the stronger lunar pull and brighter nights. Perhaps night markets thrived under the moonlight, communities gathering under its glows to share stories, food, and music. Think of the arts flourishing with the moon as muse music, poetry, and visual arts, all influenced by its bold presence in the sky. A larger moon might deepen the human connection to the night, inspiring more tender, reflective moments as darkness softens into light. Historians and scientists continue to explore these ideas, pondering alternate histories shaped by lunar differences. But for now, it's comforting to imagine humanity gently shaped by a moon twice its size, slow, steady, and luminous. So as your thoughts drift with the giant moon overhead, let this vast, glowing presence lull you deeper into rest, a timeless companion watching over your dreams and the quiet turning of the earth. 300-word wind down. Now as your breath slows and your mind drifts softly towards sleep, imagine the vast, quiet sky overhead. The moon, twice as large and serene, hangs like a gentle lantern, casting a silvery glow that soothes the edges of your thoughts. The night is calm, the air cool and soft, filled with the whisper of leaves and the distant hum of nighttime creatures settling in for rest. Let the enormity of the moon remind you of the steady rhythms that guide the world, the tides, the phases, the cycles of growth and rest. These cycles flow quietly, patiently, just as your own body and mind now begin to relax and unwind. There's no rush here, only the gentle unfolding of night's embrace. As your eyelids grow heavy, picture yourself lying beneath that large lunar glow, feeling safe, connected, and cradled by the steady pulse of the universe. No matter where you are or what day it is, this moment belongs to you, to rest, to dream, and to float softly toward morning's light. Thank you for joining this gentle journey beneath a moon twice its size. Sweet dreams, and until next time, sleep well.